Good afternoon, all of you. I'm JVN. I'm Dr. Anupama Goyal, and I'm working as Associate Professor in Botany in JVWU Women's University, Jaipur. Today, I will deliver my topic on Cycas, which is a gymnosperm, and Cycas is a gymnosperm. So, what are the species of Cycas which are found in India? So, these are the following species of Cycas which are found in India, like Cycas circinalis, Cycas pectinata, Cycas ramphai. So, Cycas circinalis, the plants of Cycas circinalis are about 12 to 15 feet tall, and the leaves are about 5 to 9 feet long, and the Cycas circinalis is distributed in western part of peninsular India, Malabar, Odisha hills, Andhra Pradesh, Madras to Ceylon, and it is found up to 3500 feet. The plants of Cycas circinalis are also cultivated in Indian gardens. In Hindi, Cycas circinalis is called as jungli Maidan Mast ka Phool. Then Cycas pectinata, as you see in the slide, plants are about 8 to 10 feet tall, and the leaves of Cycas pectinata are 4 to 6 feet long. It is commonly found growing in Nepal, Sikkim, in Assam, Khassia Hills, East Bengal, and Burma. In Nepal, it is commonly called as thankal. And now this is another species of Cycas, Cycas beddomii. Plants of Cycas beddomii are about 40 centimeter tall, and the leaves of Cycas beddomii are 3 feet long. So, Cycas is naturally found growing on dry hills of Kudappa in Andhra Pradesh, Madras, Malabar, Japa. Locally, Cycas beddomii is called as perita. Then the Cycas ramphai species, and thus the plants are about more than 12 feet tall, and the leaves of Cycas ramphai are 4 to 5 feet long, and Cycas ramphai is found growing in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. It is also found to be grown in Burma, and Cycas ramphai is cultivated in Indian gardens. In Tamil, Cycas ramphai is called as Kama and Payendu. Now, this is Cycas revoluta. So, we can say, what is Cycas revoluta? The plants of Cycas revoluta are about 10 feet tall, and the leaves are about 3 to 5 feet long, and Cycas revoluta is a native of China and Japan, and it is also called as tesu. It is also called as tesu. In our country, Cycas revoluta is mostly cultivated in gardens, and it is also called as sagu palm. So one of the question is, what is sagu palm? Then you will write, sagu palm is Cycas revoluta. Due to its primitive characters, it is also called as living fossil. So name any species of gymnosperm which is living fossil. It is Cycas revoluta. Exceptionally, it has reached a height of about 20 feet in gardens of Taj Mahal, Agra. Now the next species is Cycas siamensis. So the trunk is geophyllous, and the tuberous, but at times 6 feet tall, and the leaves are up to 5 feet long. It is a native of Burma, Cochin, China, and locally in Burma, Cycas siamensis is called as Mondeng. Pend and Notiel considered Cycas siamensis and Cycas pectinata similar on the basis of epidermal and anatomical studies. Now, what are the morphological features of cycas? So, first of all, cycas is perennial and it grows slowly. It is an evergreen plant. So, cycas is evergreen in nature and it is also called as living fossil because it occurs as a fossil. It looks like a palm tree. Cycas looks like a palm tree. Its main plant body is sporophytic. And now the question arises, what do I understand by sporophyte? Sporophyte means the plants which have roots, leaves and stem. So the main plant is sporophytic, diploid, dominant, and it can be differentiated into three parts. What are the three parts? Roots, stem and leaves. So the tallest species of cycas is Cycas media with 20 feet height. Now I will talk about the roots in cycas. So as you all know, the cycas roots are of two types. Means the roots in cycas are of two types, normal tap roots and second coralloid roots. So the normal tap roots, they form a taproot system. They form a taproot system and the coralloid roots go deep into the soil and the coralloid roots are negatively geotropic. And what is the function of the roots of cycas? Their function is they help in the fixation of the plant in the soil and they absorb water and mineral nutrients from the soil. Now I will talk about the internal structure of the cycas root. So I first tell you about the normal root. So as far as the internal structure is concerned, the internal structure of the normal root of cycas is exactly similar to that of a dicot root. It is circular in outline and it can be differentiated into epiblema, cortex and vascular tissue. Now epiblema, it is the outermost limiting layer and consists of single layer of thin-walled cells. Some of its cells give rise to root hair. Now the cortex, epiblema, surrounds the multi-layered zone of thin-walled parenchymatous cortex. So the cortex is parenchymatous. It is made up of parenchymatous cells with numerous intercellular spaces. So many or abundant intercellular spaces are found to be present in between the cells of the cortex. The cells of the cortex are also filled with starch. As you see, they are filled with starch and some tannin cells, some mucilage cells and sometimes calcium oxalate crystals are also present in the cortex. The innermost layer of the cortex is called as endodermis. And first of all, I see you the diagram. This is a diagram of the normal root of cycas. Here in this diagram, you can very well see the outermost layer is the epiblema, and from the epiblema, root hair is coming out. And this epiblema, which is the outermost layer, as you see in the diagram, it is covered with a thin layer or thick layer of cuticle. Below the epiblema, you see the cells of the cortex, and as I have told you, as you see in the diagram, the cortex cells has intercellular spaces and these contain starch and these also contain the tannin cells, and you see clearly in this diagram A. And now various intercellular spaces are also occurring, and the innermost layer of the cortex is the endodermis. And now I move towards the next slide. Endodermis is followed by multi-layered parenchymatous pericycle. Vascular bundles are radial and xylem is diarch and exarch. So what do you understand by exarch? That is, protoxylem is towards the periphery and metaxylem is towards the center. The protoxylem consists of spiral tracheids. It consists of spiral tracheids, whereas the metaxylem consists of scalariform thickenings. Metaxylem has scalariform thickenings and the vessels are absent. This is one of the main features of Cycas. The vessels are absent. Alternating with the protoxylem groups are present phloem cells consisting of sheep tubes. Phloem cells, they consist of sheep tubes and parenchyma. The companion cells, they are completely absent. So, the phloem in Cycas root is lacking the companion cells. So, the next slide is again I see you the coralloid root. I told you there are two types of roots in the beginning. Now, what is the coralloid root? So, the transverse section of the coralloid root of Cycas is similar to that of normal root, and it also can be differentiated into epidermis, cortex and vascular tissue. So now the epidermis, I talk about the epidermis in young root. In young coralloid root, it is similar to normal root, but in old root, the outermost tissue is called as periderm. The outermost tissue is called as periderm. It consists of 2 to 5 layers of dead cells. Now the cortex is wider in comparison with the normal root. So a greenish algal zone is present almost in the middle of the cortex. What I have told, a greenish algal zone is found in the middle cortex and it divides it into outer cortex and inner cortex. Now I show you the diagram of the coralloid root. But before showing the diagram, I tell you the algal zone in the middle cortex consists of loosely connected radially elongated cells, and these radially elongated cells are thin walled and these are occupied by blue-green algae. So what are the blue-green algae which are found in the coralloid root of Cycas? The blue-green algae are Anupama, Cycas, nostoc, punctiforme. Blue-green algae are nostoc, punctiforme and oscillatoria also, which is a blue-green algae, and bacteria is also present in the algal zone of the coralloid root of Cycas. What is the bacteria? Azotobacter and Pseudomonas radicicola, and some fungi are also present in the coralloid root of Cycas. So here is the diagram of the coralloid root of Cycas. Let me explain you. See, here is the outermost layer. When it becomes dead or in the older coralloid roots, it is called as periderm. Okay. Below the periderm, the cortex is present, and this cortex is divided into two parts, outer cortex and the inner cortex. So the outer cortex is made up of parenchymatous cells and the middle cortex. You see, this is the middle cortex. This middle cortex consists of an algal layer, and this is called as algal zone. In this algal layer, colonies of blue-green algae are found. These are called as Anupama and oscillatoria. And this is the inner cortex. Below the inner cortex is present the endodermis. And now you can see the structure of the coralloid root. Now the stem is thick, woody and unbranched, and the stem of Cycas is tuberous. How the stem is tuberous? When young but columnar, erect and stout at maturity. So at maturity, the stem becomes columnar and erect. And now I will talk about the reproduction in Cycas. In the next class, I will explain you with the help of diagrams how the development of sex organs, or how the development of male gametophyte and female gametophyte takes place in Cycas. Thank you.